Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Legacy of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this solo/cooperative/traditional RPG, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about playing the game and the different modes of play. The mechanics are quite simple. You start in your shelter at 6 AM on day 1, being able to make your way through the scenario with total freedom. Moving to an adjacent tile takes 1 hour on foot and half an hour using a vehicle, like a car, a motorbike, etc. As soon as you enter a new tile, you perform the following steps. You choose an action to perform. You roll for an event on the table of the specified tile. After the event, if you wish to remain in the tile, roll a d10. A resulting 1 or 2 means a violent encounter, while 3 to 10 means that you are safe. You repeat steps 1, 2, and 3 as required. It's important to note that once a night, that is, any time before 6 AM of the following day, you roll a d10. A resulting 1 or 2 means a horde attack, while 3 to 10 means nothing happens. If you spend the night outside your shelter, be it a permanent or a temporary one, you will also have to make this roll, and in case of a horde attack, you will have to face it without any extra protection. To recover your lost hit points, stance, and willpower points, rest for at least 8 hours in a quiet place. You can carry out all sorts of actions during these tile situations. Maybe you wish to acquire a random item, it takes 1 hour. Maybe you want to build or upgrade items. The time varies depending on what you want to build or upgrade. Maybe you want to interact with a character, that takes 30 minutes. So all actions can be accommodated, from hunting for food, looking for a new shelter, looking for temporary shelter, etc. When it comes to tiles and events, after creating your survivor and shelter, it is time to build your scenario. Or you can use a pre-made scenario, for example the ones included in the chapter Cities. To build your scenario, you choose the tiles described in this section to create your apocalyptic city in any way that you want. Then define where your shelter will be and mark it down on the map. Using at least one of each tile is recommended to implement greater diversity during playtime, since each presents 20 random events, except water tiles. Many events described are related to important events and important characters, which can interact with your character in many ways. The section, Playing Solo using the Oracle, lets you randomly generate these happenings and characters, considerably raising the diversity of encounters you have in the game. Determining an event is simple. Roll 2 10-sided dice, one for the first and the other for the second column of the table. Then compare and see the event that will happen to your character in the equivalent line. You have tables to determine wreckage events, underground events, ruins events, coast events, wasteland events, military base events, farm events, so many. You will never run out of surprises, considering that many different things, actions, reactions, tragedies, triumphs, may occur in each session. You only need to adapt them to the encounters. There are even tables for neutral encounters, violent encounters, horde attacks, acquiring items, weapon, armor, equipment, artifacts. What will you find during your adventures? Then you have the game modes section. When it comes to playing solo, there are 3 types of generators, each one for a specific goal. Interacting with characters, interacting with the scenario, important events, and characters. When it comes to interacting with characters, anytime you want your survivor to interact with another character, not controlled by you, you simply make a presence manipulation check against the character's stance. In case of success, your survivor gets what they want and reduces the other character's stance by a number of points equal to presence plus power bonus. When it comes to interacting with the scenario, it is possible to interact freely with the scenario through questions made to oneself, followed by a d10 roll, consulting a table and obtaining a positive or negative answer, or outcome. I would rather handle things through roleplay and just make the rolls according to the fiction. While playing solo, you will use the tables to determine important events related to plot, important events concerning local things. You can come up with your combinations. Maybe during a particular session, you encounter ghouls that want to perform a ritual against your shelter in order to attract a great old one. Or maybe you roll the same result of ghouls, but this time they want to curse an important character in order to make them more powerful. When it comes to important events, perhaps there is a flooded tunnel and you actually need to follow some tracks according to the important events challenges. Perhaps you will have to carry out combat against psychos, hybrids, or undead. There is also a table to determine different characters. Maybe you encounter a beautiful girl that was cursed by a spell. Perhaps an old sorcerer who knows everyone. Or a brilliant guy with a history of violence. You also have information on playing cooperatively. A group of players or even a solo player may control many characters living in the same city or even in nearby cities. This proceeds similar to solo, but the group of characters have to deal with the consequences, the events, the encounters. I like it that there is a list containing male names, female names, character surname examples, in order to determine the names of the non-player characters that you encounter. Maybe you want to create tables of your own using these names, and you have information on how to play with a mediator or a game master. This is pretty typical, but I would highly recommend that you play this game as a solo game or a co-op game because of the many solo and co-op mechanics and tables included. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about the late game and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this solo co-op traditional RPG. There are so many tools for you to have a satisfying solo experience, but I think it is very interesting to play it as a co-op experience as well. I would recommend that you have one of the players participating as a partial or semi-game master, adjudicating the results. Perhaps you can take turns with each segment of the scenario or perhaps the entire scenario adjudicated by a single player. That way, things will not stall, immersion will be preserved, and you won't waste any time discussing and coming up with all of the interpretations, because that definitely could hamper the pace of the game, perhaps even bring things to a momentary halt. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.